First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
Welcome to WUFT News First at 5. I'm Ophelie Jacobson.
And I'm Kendall Brandt. Thanks for joining us. Tropical Storm Nicole is on its way to Florida with emergency orders expanded to include Alachua County.
WUFT meteorologist Shawn Humphrey is here to break down how this storm will affect us. Shawn?
As of right now, Nicole is still a tropical storm. We expect it to become a hurricane by tonight, but as of the 4 p.m. advisory, once again, Nicole is still a tropical storm. Winds peaking at around 70 miles per hour, not quite hurricane strength yet. We expect it to make landfall around the Treasure Coast. And if we take a look at campus right now, conditions are slowly deteriorating. It was a little bit windy this morning and winds have been picking up all day. Gusts at 29 miles per hour, not quite tropical storm strength, but as we get into the night, things will get a little bit worse. But it's okay, just be prepared, take a deep breath, and we will all be fine. But check this out, winds peaking at around 28 miles per hour in Gainesville, and Jacksonville seeing our highest wind gusts right now at 37. Still not quite tropical storm strength, but soon enough, this storm's a fast mover. It'll be here soon. Back to the desk.
Thanks for that update, Shawn. North Central Florida schools are preparing as Tropical Storm Nicole moves closer to Florida. Alachua County schools will be closed on Thursday. The district is concerned about potential power outages and high winds. Schools will remain closed on Friday due to Veterans Day, so students won't return until Monday. Some surrounding counties will also shut down on Thursday because of the storm. Marion, Bradford, and Putnam counties have also made the call to cancel classes Thursday.
Gainesville residents might have to stay on the ground for the next day due to the incoming storm. Gainesville Regional Airport employees are securing planes, clearing the airfield, and tucking away loose items. The airport's team follows a set protocol for each hurricane. They took similar precautions for Ian. Members include GPD, airlines, rental car companies, TSA, concessions, airport fire station, control tower, and general aviation. Airport staff works closely with airlines to coordinate scheduling.
Especially with airlines, we see what their decision is, whether they are operating or not. If they don't fly, the airport isn't open. So, and there are other weather-related things that factor into the decision as well.
If your flight is scheduled for this evening or tomorrow, check with your airline for cancellations.
Some parts of Florida are already seeing weather from Tropical Storm Nicole. In South Florida, power outages have hit nearly 10,000 customers. On the Space Coast, evacuations are out for vulnerable areas. Claire Metz tells us about the possible impact of the storm.
We can anticipate 45 to 60 mile per hour winds all throughout Volusia County and Category 1 wind gusts.
Things have gotten more than serious for Volusia County residents as Nicole threatens just 6 weeks after Ian tore through this community. Ian devastated the beach, damaged many beachfront buildings. The county is asking everyone east of the Intracoastal to evacuate and implementing a countywide curfew as well.
There are buildings that are in imminent risk of collapsing. So effective tomorrow night at 7 p.m. until 7 a.m. Thursday morning, there is a countywide curfew in place.
Evacuation orders are also in place for mobile and manufactured home communities east of 95 and anyone prone to flooding. For local residents, that includes so many of us post-Ian, even a lesser amount of rain, 6 to 8 inches, could be a problem.
Evacuees are encouraged to relocate with family or friends.
But not everyone has some place to evacuate to, so 4 schools have been identified as shelters that will open Wednesday at 10 a.m. On the east side, Creekside Middle will serve the general population, Hinson Middle for special needs, and on the west side of the county, University High School will serve the general population, and Heritage Middle special needs.
This incoming storm is a direct threat to both property and life.
Officials say they can't overemphasize the dangers Nicole poses to residents in a community still trying to recover from Ian.
Governor Ron DeSantis also talked about what to expect from this storm.
The most recent track shows that it will make landfall in Martin County as a Category 1 hurricane and will move through the state exit into the Gulf of Mexico, and then make landfall again somewhere in the Big Bend region in North Florida. The combined winds and storm surge will contribute to continued beach erosion in areas that have already seen erosion from Hurricane Ian. The wind field from the storm is very large, and we expect impacts to stretch far beyond the center track, including tropical storm force winds as far north as Jacksonville.
DeSantis was reelected last night, outpacing challenger Charlie Crist by more than 1.5 million votes.
The race for the U.S. Senate in Florida is decided. Incumbent Senator Marco Rubio defeated U.S. Representative Val Demings after a historic win in Miami-Dade. Political analysts say Rubio is the perfect Republican for the state, being a product of Cuban immigrants and a Miami-Dade resident helped ensure his victory over Democrat Val Demings, while also getting Miami-Dade to vote red. He says his approach to managing law enforcement helped flip blue counties.
They go around telling people, listen, don't worry, you can't be complaining about crime. We can't keep locking criminals up. We can't keep arresting criminals. We can't keep funding police officers. Because the only way we can make up for whatever it is they think we need to make up for is not to put criminals in jail. Crime soars, people feel unsafe. And you know what happens when you tell that to working people in this country? They vote against you.
In a speech last night, Rubio thanked his family, his supporters, and his campaign staff. Rubio has held the title of senator since 2010 and will now move on to his third term in Washington.
City Commissioner Harvey Ward is officially next in line to be the mayor of Gainesville. By 8:30 p.m. last night, Ward had about 5,000 votes more than opponent Ed Bilarski. Ward has been Gainesville's District 2 City Commissioner since 2017. He says the main issues he is focused on are economic development in East Gainesville, housing, clean energy, public safety, workers' rights, and transportation.
Rebuilding the public trust and making sure that folks know that at City Hall we really care about what's happening in all the neighborhoods, and we're there to support neighbors and neighborhoods, and just repairing that public trust is job one for me.
Ward thanked his supporters and his friends and family in a victory speech at his watch party last night.
Well, Alachua County will cancel its Veterans Day celebration on Friday. It was able to squeeze in a career fair before the weather gets worse. The Paychecks for Patriots career fair was held today at the Freedom Community Center in Alachua County. Local veterans were encouraged to visit the event to learn more about possible job opportunities. A variety of companies were in attendance at the career fair today, which in turn provided more opportunities for local veterans.
And it was something that was started by Governor DeSantis a few years ago, by which we would be able to reach out to the veteran community in hopes that we could get them employed.
McBride says there will be more career fairs for veterans in the near future.
Election day was yesterday, but results are still pouring in from across the country.
Yeah, that's right. Ophelie and I were up late last night giving you updates about local election coverage in real time. We'll be back to break down some of those national upsets as well as the key local races from last night in Gainesville. All of that and more when we return on WUFT's First at 5.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome back. Florida's red wave means that come January, Democrats will not have a statewide office holder for the first time in modern history.
Yeah, and it's supermajority time for Republicans in the legislature because they'll actually have 85 of the 120 House seats and 28 of the 40 Senate seats. Among the GOP wins, Republican State Senator Dennis Baxley easily won re-election despite having to shift to a new district. He took 62% of the vote overall, with late numbers coming out of Lake County putting him over the top.
And Republican Keith Perry did even better, taking 66% of the vote against a well-known Democrat, Rodney Long. We caught up with Perry last night. He believes his record is both pro-environment and pro-business.
Now almost every single business owned by a franchise or a corporation. So in a 50-year period, we've shifted the economy from people who will never have an opportunity to own their own business. They'll just work for somebody else. And so we got to look at the regulatory and legal environment that's created this wall.
Another issue he plans to work on is affordable housing. He's wondering if reform in construction regulations could help. Perry told us he's open to suggestions from anyone, even those who campaigned against him.
In the House, Republican Chuck Clements had a slightly tougher race but easily won re-election. Here's what he told us last night after learning voters would give him another term at the state capitol.
For the son of a chicken farmer from High Springs who only had a 6th grade education, to be able to walk the halls of Tallahassee has just been one of the greatest honors of my life.
That son made it through high school, community college, and UF and is now a VP at Santa Fe College. Winning for a 4th consecutive time, term limits will force him to give up his seat in 2 years.
One Democrat who won re-election to the State House of Representatives is Yvonne Hayes Hinson. In the end, it was an easy win, but when we caught up with her last night, the race seemed a little too close for comfort.
I am surprised that my opponent is doing so well. She obviously had done some campaigning, or just Republicans are loyal supporters to Republicans, one or the other.
Winning in a new district, Hinson says her platform won't change and education will always be her #1 priority. As you might guess, she is a former teacher and principal.
The rumored red wave for Congress never really came across much of the nation, but it sure did in Florida, and Republicans gave 4 U.S. House seats from the state alone. Republican candidate Kat Kamak will return to D.C. to represent Alachua County and many surrounding counties. She lost to Alachua but won elsewhere by huge margins to coast to victory. She held a watch party at Granville Plantation in Newberry on election night. Everyone celebrated her raking in 180,000 votes and drawing higher turnout than nearly 2 years ago. It was early on, just 8:30, when Kamak took to the stage surrounded by 70 supporters dressed in red, white, and blue. She says her first priorities are to create jobs, take on big tech, and lower gas prices.
In other congressional races of note, look at House District 2. AP calls them both incumbents since both are sitting members of Congress, but Democrat Al Lawson was bumped into this district by a controversial new map. He lost the advantage of a minority empowerment district stretching from Tallahassee to Jacksonville, and he lost the more conservative district to Republican Neil Dunn. A few districts were wide open with no incumbent, like House 10, which Val Demings decided to vacate for her Senate bid. District voters picked another Democrat, Maxwell Frost, who was just 25 years old and a community activist. Some are calling him the state's first Gen Z member of Congress. Election night was full of surprising wins and upsets across the country. Former governor and vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin lost her U.S. House race last night to Democrat Mary Peltola. Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania John Fetterman came out victorious against TV personality Dr. Mehmet Oz. Aside from races, voters in Maryland and Missouri said yes to recreational marijuana. Those are the 20th and 21st states to do so. Switching gears, it was sure cold today. It finally felt like fall.
I know, I wish I would have brought a jacket into the newsroom. I was wishing I had one on the walk-in, but WUFT's Shawn Humphrey will give us his full forecast for the rest of the week after the break. But Shawn, where is this cold weather coming from?
Well, it's certainly starting to feel like fall. Next week will be even colder, but right now the winds from Tropical Storm Nicole are making it feel even chillier. More on Nicole after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Heading into tonight, we're preparing for Hurricane Nicole. Winds will be picking up as we get into the latter parts of the evening, but around 1 a.m., we'll see those first rain bands from Nicole start to come into Alachua County and Marion County. This is when we'll see tropical storm force winds over much of the state of Florida. We've got the storm making landfall around Port St. Lucie, Indian River County, and Martin County. That's the Treasure Coast. The Space Coast will see some big storm surge risks as well. But as we go later on into Thursday, we see the storm heading up to around Gainesville. We'll see those winds and rain start to pick up. So remember, if there is flash flooding in your area, turn around, don't drown. And as we get into that future radar look, we see the storm we see those outer bands start to pick up around Putnam County. Palatka starting to get lashed by those outer bands early on, and Central Florida is seeing some big impacts as well. Marion County seeing the first look at what Nicole has to bring to the area tomorrow, and as we get into the latter part of Thursday, the rain starts to slow down, the winds start to slow down, but we should see impacts all day. Storm surge is normally the biggest risk for any one of these storms, so around the Space Coast, storm surge around 2 to 5 feet. And we look at the western part of Florida as well, around Cedar Key. Storm surge still a big risk. Storm surge warnings in many areas. Once again, landfall around the Treasure Coast. And as we get into the latter part of the week, Friday, the storm keeps moving. It's a fast mover. Thankfully, it's not going to just sit there and dump rain on the state. Isolated tornado risk is big time for this storm. Severe weather risks are as you see here on this map. Isolated tornadoes, stay alert, stay connected to your alerts on your phone, and if your power goes out, make sure you have a small radio or something of that sort to keep you updated just in case. And the 6-day forecast is as follows. You'll see temperatures starting to drop as we get into next week. Of course, Thursday and Friday seeing impacts from Tropical Storm Nicole. And as we get into the weekend, it's going to clear up. Once again, the storm is a fast mover. Gator game day should be no gray, okay? And I'll send it back to the desk.
Thanks, Shawn. We'll check in with you one last time later in the show. But coming up next, Cristina Santiago will have what's next for the Florida Gators this coming weekend.
Yes, super exciting. She'll be here after the break. Talking about the Gator football team and their upcoming game against the South Carolina Gamecocks.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome to sports. I'm Cristina Santiago. The Gator football team has its final home game of the season against the South Carolina Gamecocks this Saturday. Gator head coach Billy Napier is preparing for the Gamecocks' high-quality talent and on-field success.
You see the effort on the tape. Certainly, Coach Beamer, we have a ton of respect for what he's created there and what he continues to build there. So this is a team that is very capable. You know, they've got some really unique matchup players, individual players that I think can present a number of challenges. So
15 Gator seniors and 3 non-senior players will be recognized at this game. The non-seniors include receiver Trent Whittemore and running backs Lorenzo Lingard and Naquan Wright, who will probably transfer at the end of the season. The second college football playoffs ranking came out last night. After beating Tennessee this past weekend, Georgia was put back on top of the college football world. The teams behind them are Ohio State, staying at number 2, Michigan moving up to number 3, and TCU now enters the top 4 after being ranked 7th last week. The Golden Era got off to a great start this Monday as the Gator men's basketball team dominated Stony Brook, 81-45. The team made 10 of its 25 three-point attempts and shot 47.5% from the floor. Florida's defense was everywhere, scoring 19 points off turnovers. LSU transfer Alex Fudge had a career high as he led the team with 16 points. The team will be back in action this Friday, taking on Kennesaw State Owls at the O-Dome. The Gators women's basketball team also started its season strong, beating the Florida A&M Rattlers in dominant fashion, 83-55. The team was led by Leilani Correa, who scored 18 points. KK Deans, Jordan Merritt, and Rashaya Kyle contributed 15 points each. Florida's defense was impressive as they forced 28 turnovers, leading to 18 steals. Up next, the Gators will play UNC Asheville at home this Sunday. The Santa Fe High School volleyball team is back in the Class 4-8 state championship game. This is the second year in a row that they are playing for the state title. They defeated Calvary Christian High School in 3 sets last year. Saturday, they will face off against Academy of the Holy Names at 4 p.m.
Thanks for that update, Cristina. And before we go, one last check on the weather.
All right, everybody, let's take a deep breath. And remember, the only thing we have to do to stay safe is to stay prepared. Listen to local officials, build your emergency kit, and create an evacuation plan. That might not mean you need to leave your house, but if you do, or you might have to leave your house, make sure you have a plan to go somewhere. Make sure you have all your materials together, whether that's a generator or anything of the sort. Let's take one last look. Whoops. Missed it, that's okay. Here's your 6-day weather outlook. Of course, impacts from the storm tomorrow. I'll go back to that last graphic. I'll try to. Future radar showing us that the storm is making landfall around southeast Florida, but as we get into the day, conditions deteriorate. Thursday, later Thursday, the storm will be moving fast and it'll be out of our hair in no time. And the 6-day forecast looks like this. Temperatures dropping as we get into early next week, and everything will start looking a little bit sunnier than it will be the next couple of days. Friday, Veterans Day, a little bit rainy over parts of the day, but it's okay as we get into the weekend. Gator football, good weather. Back to the desk.
Thanks, Shawn. BBC World News is next, and the PBS News Hour is coming up at 7.
As you know, your Florida local news is always on at WUFT.org. Have a great night.